My mom has this dream of having like a family band. It's probably more my dad's dream, but he says it's my mom's.
I like to tell myself that music is just one thing that I cannot run away from.
You can really push yourself and challenge yourself to get this beautiful rhythm.
Listening to music, it really makes me feel like I'm in a different world. Being able to play music is really cool because you can perform in front of your friends and family.
In choir, you'll do at least 6 concerts every year, learning different parts like sopranos and altos.
Do a lot of competitions and you can try out for solos. To learn new notes and keys.
It's like something that your ears love to hear.
And I love the viola. It's pretty easy. It has good strings and types of tone that I loved.
When I was in kindergarten, I moved to a new house and I fell in love with the piano.
I chose choir because I love to sing, but I also love meeting new people. I've made a lot of friends in band.
Well, I definitely made a lot more friends from band than I really have made any other class.
I can hang out with my friends and we all do something in common, which is sing, and we all really enjoy it.
Experiencing talking to new people and singing in front of people really has boosted my confidence.
Your confidence really builds up the more you play.
It's going to be easy for you to do with more practice.
You don't have to come to class being scared because there's so many other kids in there, and if you mess up, you can't even tell.
Don't be afraid to sing out, and everybody will support you. Nobody's gonna judge you. It would be totally okay if you didn't feel confident in singing or you didn't think you were great at singing. Because I used to be really scared to perform in front of other people, but now that we do performances, it's gotten a lot easier for me.
There's a lot of people that get stage fright because they're scared that people are gonna judge them, but everybody's doing it and everybody's making mistakes.
There's such a variety of people, different people that you can meet.
Because you can fit in no matter who you are.
I chose to go to Phoenix. Oh, hi.
There are kind of a lot of reasons that I wanted to go to Phoenix.
Something that interested me
Is the smaller community.
I thought that the mastery grading system would be cool.
I thought that it sounded pretty cool, but I didn't want to leave all my friends.
I really liked it, and I made a lot of new friends.
So I can experience a more close-knit community where you know everyone around you.
My brother coming home every day thinking that it's very fun all through elementary school.
the fact that we would be able to work at our own pace.
Phoenix just sounded like a good fresh start, a new try.
We also have short days on Friday.
We end early on Fridays.
So I decided that I'd try it out, see how it was.
The global awareness pillar is looking at ways that affect the world or different cultures around the world.
We have a bunch of flags on the wall in the family room, and we actively change them out every semester so that the flags from kids' countries that are attending Phoenix currently can see their flag up there.
Connections class at Phoenix helps build character. Your character is pretty much positive here because you can grow.
The Connections class here at Phoenix is a class where we talk about arguments, but we also talk about other things that have happened around the world.
I think that Phoenix does a really good job of encouraging people to bring out their creative side. Discovery days are also a big thing to encourage your creative expression.
You could write a song, do a poem, make a woodwork thing, do something out of cardboard.
One of my students did a sitar lesson last Discovery Day.
One of my Discovery days, I spent drawing a roadmap of the city of Columbus.
The intellectual discipline pillar.
Teachers help you understand stuff, but they don't give the answer to you because that wouldn't really be learning.
I think it's great to give kids chances to redo work and then let them show that they understand it in their own unique way.
You can't just get a 0 if you don't turn something in. In Mastery, you have to continue doing it until you get it right.
The Phoenix Pillar Wellness, we get options to choose for gym, how we can go outside for lunch. We also have clubs after school.
The club that I am in is called the News Club.
We have a video game sports team, esports team, that we started this year, and they won the state championship.
So it's also wellness for your mind. At the end of the day, we have a special class called Extensions where we're able to go to any teacher that we need to for help.
One of our teachers here, Mr. Smith, is our wellness teacher and has a lot of character. He helps people with math, and he also has good relationships with a lot of the students here.
At Phoenix, we have such a good connection between the students and the teachers.
All the teachers here are great.
The teachers in Phoenix help you learn. If you don't understand something, they will explain it in a different way that you understand.
I'm glad that I came to Phoenix.
It's very laid back.
It's got a lot of stuff
that just makes it awesome. There's a lot of openness.
Phoenix is a very positive experience.
I just think that it's an awesome way to run a school, and I'm very happy that I went. It was probably the best decision I've ever made.
Favorite parts of Worthington schools. We have a lot of options.
IED being the first class you take freshman year, one of my favorite classes at Thomas so far.
We made a lamp, I think out of like metal tubing.
It's really hands-on, it's really fun.
I still have it on my desk at home. It is a staple of my desk.
My favorite was probably the egg car project.
It was so fun and so engaging, and there was not a day that I didn't want to go to that class.
That first engineering class we take, IED, is super hands-on and fun and really kind of draws you in.
Working with power tools gives you confidence.
I can go home and I can use those tools.
You're able to make something with a bandsaw.
The other day we were taking apart a deck in our backyard and I was able to help with that.
I just gained so much confidence. The biggest thing about STEM is just the family.
Middle schoolers go from a school of 500 kids to going to a school with 1,800 kids. It's a big difference.
It's a smaller community and it's a smaller environment than the general population.
Like a fish in a very big pond.
You have the same people in every class, so you really develop pretty deep relationships with not only the teachers but the students as well.
It was almost a built-in group of friends because you would see them at school and then you would see them outside of school and you would already have that relationship built, and it just made it so much easier.
Walking into a high school that was larger than any high school that I had attended or that I had walked into before. It was intimidating to me as a parent. We sat in the cafeteria where the 4 STEM teachers did a presentation, and they were a unified front.
All the teachers for the STEM program are just phenomenal.
They're really kind.
It's a great team of teachers.
They check up on you. They make sure that you're doing your best.
I learned so much last year and this year with those teachers.
Mr. Brown and Miss Stanich and Miss Hertenstein, Miss Court and Miss Laughlin. Those are your people.
They're always there for you.
I absolutely was a huge fan of them as educators and, frankly, of them as fellow parents.
I didn't feel like I had to sacrifice anything I wanted to take.
I think I got more from STEM.
You're older, you're actually able to take more APs.
I was able to get more in my schedule because I was done with science.
You have more room in your schedule, you're able to get into that more and actually get more than your peers.
My counselor made it work and I ended up doing 4 years of EBA and 4 years of STEM. And I definitely wouldn't have it any other way.
I was able to go into an internship with Abbott. It makes me so thankful that I was in STEM.
I honestly feel that anyone could walk into this program and do well just because
I genuinely think anyone could.
The teachers all have your best interests in mind.
They want to help people who are also passionate about STEM.
Want to be an engineer if you don't want to be an engineer. If you just like to make stuff. If you just want to learn in a little bit of a different environment. If you want that family aspect.
There's no negative to trying it.
As long as you want to learn, you can learn.
They will work with you.
You don't have to worry about failure because they will not let you fail.
It's just been fantastic for my kids.
Just do it.
It's 6:30. I'm calling the meeting to order. At this time, I would like to introduce the board members and the other two people who are up here. So on your left is Amy Lloyd, Nikki Hudson, Assistant Superintendent Randy Banks, and he's here filling in for our superintendent, who is doing some very important high-level professional development at the Superintendent Summit. And just for your information, it is definitely not his habit to miss. My recollection is he's missed twice in the 7 years he's been superintendent. Mr. Banks tells me this is only the second time that he has served up here. So, but I think it's really important that all of us get professional development, and that's what Dr. Bowers is doing. On my left here is our treasurer, TJ Cusick. Next to him is board member Jennifer Best, and next to Jennifer is board member Kelly Davis. And I do want to say that I omitted this. Ms. Hudson is also our vice president this year. So, sorry. Okay. At this time, I would like to ask that everyone rise and do the pledge allegiance to the flag. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, we need to approve the agenda. Are there any amendments, changes, deletions, additions? I would at this time then entertain a motion to approve our agenda as it was posted publicly.
So moved. Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the agenda of the Board of Education meeting tonight. Any comments, questions? Seeing none. Mr. Cusick, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Best?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes. Okay, at this time we have visitor comments. I just want to say that the school board and the administrative staff clearly encourage and appreciate community interest in the meetings of the Board of Education. This section of the agenda is designed for us to hear the views of community members about their schools and about items on the agenda. We ask that each speaker address the board at the visitors' podium so that the speaker's remarks may be heard by all of us. The speaker should give his or her name and street address and limit comments to a maximum of 5 minutes. Consistent with our policy 9130 on public complaints, we urge you that all complaints about particular employees be referred to the superintendent and not be addressed during public session. Again, we remind all speakers that our district values and respects all people as they are, and that our district is committed to creating and maintaining safe spaces for all students and all community members. And again, I do want to remind you all that while we value public input and always appreciate when our community members remember our district's values, we urge you to refrain from using harmful or offensive language and for sharing your comments in a civil and respectful manner. And finally, it is our practice, as is the practice of, frankly, every school district whose meetings I've attended across the country when I was an officer of the National School Boards Association. It is board's practices not to respond to remarks during the visitor comment section, nor to answer questions, nor to engage in any dialogue. If you wish to do that, board members are always available. We're always available by telephone or by email, but our board meeting is not for a debate. Let's see, the first speaker who's Ms. Hudson?
The policy committee met again, and I wanted to share with you that we will have a draft of a naming rights policy to bring for a first reading and discussion at our next meeting. Wanted to make you aware that in addition to that policy, if we were to move forward and adopt the policy, we would also need to adopt a resolution for legacy funding. And this essentially is a means by which we formally segregate those funds from the general operating funds. So the funds that would be part of the fundraising effort tied to the naming rights. There are just a few areas where Kelly and I have noted, and the policy committee with Randy and TJ joined us the past two meetings, that we definitely want to talk through options, but I think overall we've got a solid first draft for everyone to review and consider. Did I miss anything, Kelly? Okay, that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Ms. Lloyd?
Did you mention when that might come forward, or you're not sure yet?
The next meeting.
Oh, the next meeting. Okay,
Yeah.
I wasn't sure if I just missed it. Okay. Yeah, so I have a report to give. So I was thinking a little bit about our conversation that we had at our last meeting about at our work session, talking about our liaison positions and how we might better report out on those things. And so I thought tonight I would give a brief, and I'll try to keep it brief. I do have a long list. The City of Worthington, since I'm the liaison for the city, a brief update on some of the happenings in the last couple weeks. I know that we were all made aware of the Architecture Review Board meeting that took place a couple weeks ago. I just thought I'd hit a few high points on some of the discussion that happened. Overall, the board thought that there were good improvements to the site design. They did have some suggestions about, and I hadn't heard this previously, so I thought this was interesting, regarding the bus drop-off. There's a change that's been made to widen the area in front of the pool for bus drop-off, and they mentioned about they're calling it the promenade, about making some changes so that students don't have to cross in front of buses, trying to make that all flow a little better. And I haven't followed up with our facilities committee. Charlie and I actually have a facilities committee meeting this Thursday, so we can maybe follow up on that item at that meeting. Multiple Architecture Review Board and Municipal Planning Commission members expressed the need for a sidewalk multi-use path along the south side of the Thomas Worthington site. A Municipal Planning Commission member who lives on 161 stated that the number of students and community members who travel along the sidewalk, or who travel along the sidewalk along 161 and then walk through the front lawn because there is no sidewalk. And then city staff stated that the bike and ped board recommendation to the city for there to be a sidewalk multi-use path along 161. And I should mention that the bulk of the discussion of that meeting was just on the site. So they are going to discuss the building itself at this next meeting this next Thursday. I wanted to just mention the Martin Luther King Jr. celebration that took place. That was hosted by the Community Relations Commission. It was a great event. I thought it was really well attended. The featured speaker was Ohio State University Professor Jeffries, and Toya Spencer was also there to represent the district and to introduce him and to say a few words. Then the city council meeting this past week, again, a few highlights that I just wanted to share that may impact us. They've shared an overview of the redevelopment of McCord Park, which McCord Park is going offline this spring. So our softball and baseball teams have to be relocated. But the part I wanted to bring up was just that there was some discussion about an alternate for that bid package to include turf on those fields, which is interesting because that could help our teams be able to play more frequently because of obviously when there's water and rain, it takes longer for those fields to dry out. So I thought that was an interesting piece to follow. The city also had some discussion about a potential bond issue. This is a city bond issue for funding affordable housing. I'm just putting that on everybody's radar that was being discussed. And they're also discussing having a housing study to be completed to help identify the type of housing that Worthington could best utilize. And obviously housing is something that impacts us depending on where it might go, who might reside in it, how that might impact our school district. I noticed, I was reviewing also yesterday, the Bike and Pedestrian Advisory Board, they meet tonight at 6, so they're probably meeting right now. And I noticed that they too were discussing the Thomas Worthington Development Plan, so I'm not sure what their discussion is gonna entail. I do receive their meeting minutes, so I'll try to take a look at those and see if there's anything there. I think, as I said before at our last meeting, I think anything that we receive as a community in terms of feedback on the Thomas Worthington site is good for us to hear, because we may not hear all of those pieces that are going to different groups, but there obviously is a lot of discussion happening. So, sorry, that was not brief. I'll try better next time.
No.
It was really good.
My recommendation is you not try to be briefer. I don't think anything that wasn't needed. Thank you very much for a very thorough report, and you have nothing whatsoever to, in my opinion, to apologize for. And just one thing about the speaker, Dr. Jeffries. I know him well. He's at OSU, but he's also the brother of the current minority leader of the United States House. Anyone else?
Yeah, I'll go.
Ms. Best.
I'll follow up first with, yes, the Martin Luther King Day celebration was great. It was so nice to see the church full, and we appreciate Toya being part of that. I went to the PTA council meeting last week as the board representative, and Angie Adrian was there and did a great presentation on the learner profile, things that we'll be talking about in the upcoming year, really. So they got a preview of that. They were so appreciative of her being there, and they're very appreciative of the board being there and getting the update. So it was a really good meeting. And then we have key communicators coming up this week for me and Nikki. I can be there in the morning. I cannot, as typical, be there in the afternoon.
Check my schedule really quickly. I'll be in there in the morning as well. I'm fairly certain I don't make that.
I think, as long as one of us is there, it's good. But if anyone else, because they're such great, yeah. Okay. I will not. So there's an opening if someone else wants to go at 4:00. It's the internal key communicators.
And if anyone can make it, why don't we communicate? So that only 2 of us show up rather than 3.
And if you can't, certainly
Right.
don't feel like you have to, because Nikki can be there. So that is all I have.
Okay, thank you very much. And I guess I just want to follow up. I would like, obviously only 2 of us can be at a committee meeting or any kind of a meeting where there's discussion. But if you find you're unable to make it, if you'd let me know, and we'll try to make sure we get 2 there. Also, do you know who is the board member for February? PTAC. Okay, Kelly. All right.
I was gonna say, I have.
What's that?
It's noted on the online board calendar.
Right, and I looked at it. Yeah, thank you, Amy. All right, and thank you, Amy, for that, because actually I looked at it, but I forgot. All right, Kelly.
I really don't have anything. Nikki summed up policy for us. I don't have that I can think of anything coming up, but I did attend the Martin Luther King celebration, and it was amazing. And I do thank you, Toya, for representing the school as well. Dr. Jeffries was amazing. He left us all with a great message to keep listening to and keep acting on. And if you didn't get a chance to listen to it, it is on the Worthington's website. So I encourage everyone to listen to it. But it was really full. I've never been in person, but it was a good presentation. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. And with respect to legislative liaison, obviously this is the season where the General Assembly is deciding on the biennial budget, the budget that will govern the next 2 years. And I will stay on top of that. Of course, the number 1 priority, I believe, is full or as close to full funding of the fair funding formula that the General Assembly adopted last year but did not fully fund. And hopefully it won't be scrapped. There's been talk of that, so I have nothing else to add. Thank you very much for the reports. All right, at this time, we will take up the 2 actions recommended by the treasurer. Mr. Kusek, do you want to start with
Yes.
do you want the approval of the minutes?
Yes, I'd like to recommend that the Board of Education approve items D2 and D3. D2 are the minutes from the January 9th meeting, and D3 are routine general fund object transfers that net to 0. So seeking a motion to approve items D2 and D3.
So moved.
Second.
We have a motion and second. Again, we're doing these together, but if anyone wants to break we're trying to streamline, but if anyone wants to break one out for a separate vote, we will always do that, but we're trying to streamline as much as possible. So is there any discussion or questions? Seeing none, Mr. Kusek, would you call the roll?
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Best?
Yes.
Okay, before we move on, and I didn't ask in advance, but you did give great news with respect to the ratings for the school district. I don't know if you want to come. I'll catch you totally by surprise. I apologize for that, but you had such great news you shared with the board. I'd love to have it shared with the community.
We took a trip to Chicago to get rated by Moody's and S&P, as we always do, ahead of our bond issue next month, and we were reaffirmed, I guess, as AA plus for S&P and AA1 for Moody's. So those are the next to highest rating that you can get. Only 29 districts are rated that high in the state. So out of 600 and some school districts, we're in the top 30. So it's excellent rating. Will hopefully lead to an excellent bond sale next month.
And my understanding why we don't get the very highest is something that's totally out of our control, which is the funding of the state teachers retirement system and the PERS.
Yeah, that plays a little bit into it. They consider that debt to the school district, long-term obligation, because the state pension system is unfunded. So they weigh that. So every district in Ohio gets sort of a structural knockdown, I guess you could say. And then our wealth factors are not quite there in terms of income levels. But again, though, we're in the top 29 of school districts across the state. So a great rating. Community should be proud, and we should have a good bond sale.
Thank you very much for that excellent report. And we are very pleased that we're in good financial shape. Thank you. All right, at this time, actions recommended by the superintendent.
The superintendent recommends that the Board of Education approve the consent agenda, items E2 through E8. Action by the Board of Education and adoption of the consent agenda means that all items listed under consent agenda are adopted by a single motion unless a member of the Board of Education or superintendent requests that any such items be removed from the consent agenda and voted upon separately. Employments, where applicable, are contingent upon verification of education and experience, proof of proper licensure and certification, clean results from a criminal records check, and all employment is subject to a properly executed contract.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second to approve the superintendent's consent agenda. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Mr. Kusek, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Best?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Okay, now we move to actions recommended by the superintendent, new business. And the first one is acceptance of donations. Mr. Banks.
The superintendent has recommended a motion to accept the donations from the individuals and organizations listed below and to extend the Board of Education and the administration's appreciation to the individuals and members of these groups for their generosity and support.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, we've got a motion and a second to approve the recommendation to accept the donations. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, Mr. Cusick, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Best?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
Motion passes. All right. Now, actions recommended by the Board of Education. And the recommended action or motion is a motion to approve the registration of board members to the workshops listed in the agenda with both the dates, the name of the workshop, and the cost to the district. And again, it has been, at least as long as I've been on this board, the tradition of the board not to pay any travel expenses to local workshops, either mileage or parking, or food for that matter, just the actual registration itself.
So moved.
Got a motion?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the registration at these workshops. Any discussion? Seeing none, Mr. Cusick, would you please call the roll?
Mr. Wilson?
Yes.
Mrs. Best?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lloyd?
Yes.
Motion passes. All right, this time, are there any requests, questions, or concerns from the board? Okay. Then looking at the calendar, several things to point out. First of all, a week from Friday, February the 3rd, we will be having a work session here at the WEC at 12:30. Okay, that will be at 12:30, and our primary focus there will be on the board handbook, and I'm counting on Amy to lead that discussion. And the second issue is kind of how we're organized, governance type issues, basically how our agenda is done, and appointments of positions later this year, and any other issues along that line that come up, and I'll lead that discussion. Any comments about that? And then our next regular board meeting will be February 13th, the second Monday of the month, again at 6:30. And then on the fourth Monday of the month, our second board meeting, I just want to point out, we're going to have what I think will be a great presentation about special education. I'm really looking forward to that, and we will be discussing other possible presentations at our work session on a week from Friday to kind of organize that.
Charlie, may I interject about the book?
Yes.
There is a book that you may or may not have read before called Demystifying Disabilities. It was recommended to me by a few parents in the district with students with disabilities, and in preparation of our meeting on the 27th, we will all get a copy of that. I would say well in advance, because they were working on ordering them right away, and so we will have time to have read that prior to that meeting.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Right, and I haven't read the book either, so I'm not making a first-hand recommendation, but I did read the reviews of the book, and it sounds like a book that would be very, very beneficial, certainly for me, and I think for all of us, especially in preparation. And it's only about 170 pages or so, so we're not talking about a 600 or 700 page book plus footnotes. Okay. So looking forward to getting that and getting started reading that. That's still over a month away. So okay. Any other comments, questions? If not, at this time, I would entertain a motion to enter into executive session for the purpose of discussing the conduct of negotiations or bargaining sessions with public employees concerning their compensation or other terms and conditions of their employment, and for the purpose of discussing employment, dismissal, appointment, promotion, demotion, compensation, or investigation of charges or complaints against a public employee.
So moved.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we enter into executive session. Any comments? Seeing none, Mr. Cusick, would you please call the roll?
Mrs. Best?
Yes.
Mrs. Davis?
Yes.
Mrs. Hudson?
Yes.
Mrs. Lloyd?
Yes.
Mr. Wilson?
Yes. And in case there was any concern, we will not be conducting any business whatsoever after the executive session. We will come out of executive session, of course, to adjourn, because we can't vote on anything in executive session. but we will conduct no business after the executive session.